Good morning to all. I feel really privileged to host this webinar on International Day for Women in Mathematics. As you all know, today is the birthday of Professor Mariam Mirzakhani, the only women mathematician who secured the prestigious Fields Medal. She received the Fields Medal in 2014, and she is also the first Iranian mathematician to be honored with a Fields Medal. Unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 40. In 2018 ICM at Rio de Janeiro, the Iranian Mathematical Society proposed to observe her birthday as Women in Mathematics Day. The same was done during World Meet of Women in Mathematics and was forwarded to International Mathematics Union. The proposal was accepted, and hence we are here celebrating the second International Day of Women in Mathematics. Without much delay, let me move on to the official proceedings. I'm very thankful to Dr. Nikita Agarwal for agreeing to give a presentation today, and on behalf of each and everyone, I welcome her. Professor Ambat Vijaykumar from CUSAT has kindly agreed to introduce the speaker and give a presentation, a short presentation of Mariam Mirzakhani receiving the Fields Medal. Welcome, sir, to the webinar. I also take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you who has joined. We have participants from USA, New Zealand, Switzerland, Oman, and many other countries also. So welcome to each and every one of you. May I now request Professor Ambat Vijaykumar to start the video presentation and then to introduce the speaker.
Welcome to all of you for the webinar on Mariam Mirzakhani's life and contributions. Let me first of all congratulate the speaker, Dr. Nikita Agarwal, and the organizer, Dr. Aparna Lakshmanan, for this historic webinar. Before I formally invite Dr. Nikita, I am happy to share some video of Memories of Soul ICM, in which Mariam Mirzakhani, Manjul Bhargava, Martin Herer, Kaushar Berkar, and Alessio Figali, 5 of them, was awarded the prestigious Fields Medal. I was fortunate enough to attend the Seoul ICM in 2014. I could take pictures with most of the Fields medalists, but not Mariam, because she left the session immediately after receiving the award. There is the awardees speak after receiving the medal, but Mariam could not do that. So I am going to start the presentation so that all of you can enjoy the inaugural and other parts events taking place in the ICM every 4 years. Aparna, കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടോ?
Yes, sir, the visuals are clear.
Okay.
Participants, please pin to the screen Vijayakumar Ambat presentation so that you can see the visuals.
This is Professor John Milner of Stony Brook University, USA, delivering a plenary lecture. He was a Fields Medalist in 1962, an Abel Prize winner in 2011, and Wolf Prize winner in 1989. Let me first of all introduce the speaker, Dr. Nikita Agarwal, currently at IISER Bhopal. Her research areas are in ergodic theory and dynamical systems. She took her master's and PhD from University of Houston, Texas. And also she is a member of the executive committee of the Indian Women in Mathematics. So on behalf of all the organizers and all of us, let me invite Nikita to give her presentation on the life and contributions of Mariam Mirzakhani. Over to Nikita.
First of all, I thank Professor Vijay Kumar Ambat to introduce me and also play the video where Professor Mirzakhani and other Fields medalists were receiving the award. I also thank Dr. Aparna and also St. Xavier's College for Women in Kerala to organize this event. So let me move on to the presentation, which I will start now. So I'm going to talk about life and contributions of Mirzakhani, and it will be a very brief overview of her life and contributions that she has made. Of course, her contributions are so vast that this short presentation will, or any other presentation will not do justice. And towards the end of the talk, I'll give several references which you can go to and know more about her life and work. So why are we meeting today? May 12, which is now celebrated as International Women in Mathematics Day. It is Mariam Mirzakhani's birthday. And this day is recognized to celebrate women in mathematics all over the world. It started in 2019, and in the first year, over 100 events were organized all over the world. And most of these events had 20 to 100 participants, but there were several events which had more than 200 people. Several of them were also organized in India. And the initiative is coordinated by the Women in Mathematics Associations of Europe, USA, Africa, India, Chile, and Iran. And below you see a link of the website of this initiative, which is called May 12 Initiative, and the website is may12.womeninmaths.org. So you can later on go to this website and see what goes on as part of this initiative. So now I'll formally move on to Mirzakhani's life and work. So she received Fields Medal in 2014, and the citation reads out as follows. Mariam Mirzakhani is awarded the Fields Medal for her outstanding contributions to the dynamics and geometry of Riemann surfaces and their moduli pieces. And below you see a picture of the 4 Fields medalists in that year, and you also saw them in the video that was played in the beginning of this session. She received several awards and honors. This basically lists several of the awards that she received. I'll take you to the last one, which is kind of interesting, and one of the asteroid is named after her, and it's in the bottom of this slide. So let me take you to her childhood, which was in Iran, Tehran. She was born on May 12, 1977, and her childhood was during the Iran-Iraq War, which was from 80 to 88. In the middle school, she did not do very well in mathematics in her first year, and she was told by her teacher that she does not have mathematical talent, which is kind of surprising when you see it today. She thought at that time that she would be an author, but the next year, so in the first year she did not do well, but then later on there was a change in teacher, and teachers play an important role in our life. And this teacher saw Mariam flourish mathematically, and then the wonders are in front of us. So she took part in Olympiad along with several other colleagues, peers of hers, but also her lifelong friend, which is Roya Beheshti. And they broke into what was once considered a boys-only bastion. They were selected to represent Iran in the International Mathematical Olympiad, and Mariam won a gold medal in 1994. And this uh, contest was held in Hong Kong, where she scored 41 out of 42 score. Again, the next year in 1995, in the Olympiad that was held in Toronto, Canada, she won a gold medal again, but this time with a perfect score. And below you see pictures of, on the right, Roya and Mariam on the right. And on the left picture, it's with her friends, and you see Mariam on, standing on the leftmost of this picture. So now let me take you to her early education, which was at Sharif University, where she did her Bachelor of Science. This was during 95 to 99. By this time, she had already published 3 papers, out of which 2 were in graph theory. At this time, she enjoyed problem solving and participating in informal reading groups with peers. So I will read out excerpts of some interviews with a friend of Mariam, and also a collaborator, Kasra Rafi, who is a professor of mathematics at Toronto. So I will just read out what he has to say about Mariam. Papers were published when she was an undergrad. Pretty funny story that she was asked to referee somebody else's grant proposal when she was an undergrad, because she was already building a reputation based on her results. And a friend, Kia Dalili. So Mariam was not just oriented towards mathematics and studying. She also liked to play soccer. And what this friend, Kia Dalili, has to say is, we played a lot of soccer. Mariam always said she wants to come play. The only girl who actually ever did. She came up and argued with the person to let her in and play the game. Yeah. So now coming to her doctorate degree, which was from Harvard University, USA in 2004. Her doctoral advisor is Curtis Macmillan, who is also a Fields Medalist, and he received a Fields Medal in 1998. Her thesis was 130-page long, and it titled Simple Geodesics on Hyperbolic Surfaces and Volume of the Moduli Space of Curves. You will see some of these terms in the second part of my talk, where I will talk about her work. And during her PhD, she was awarded the Leonard M. and Eleanor B. Blumenthal Award for her thesis, which was judged as outstanding. So PhD days were interesting for Mariam. There was a cultural difference that she saw from coming from Iran to USA, and also exploring new mathematics at that time. And on the left, you will see what Mariam has to say about her time and interactions with Kurt, who is her doctoral advisor. So she said that working with Kurt had a great influence on me, though now I wish I had learned more from him. By the time I graduated, I had a long list of raw ideas that I wanted to explore. So it shows that so when she finished her PhD, she already had a lot of ideas to work on, which she pursued later on. And what Kurt has to say is also very interesting. And also it reveals about the passion and ideas that Mariam had at that time. She had a sort of daring imagination. She would formulate in her mind an imaginary picture of what must be going on, then come to my office and describe it. At the end, she would turn to me and say, "Is it right?" And it's interesting to note the last statement. I was always flattered that she thought I would know. So you can imagine that Mariam had surprised her doctoral advisor with her ideas and, of course, as he says, daring imagination. So I'll move on to her career path. So after her PhD, she was given an assistant professorship at the Princeton University, and it was equipped with Clay Research Fellowship. During the fellowship, she produced several profound papers on curved surfaces, and they were published in leading journals in mathematics. By 2009, she was a professor at the Stanford University. And as per MathSciNet, Mariam has published a total of 23 papers and has been cited 479 times. But I would like to point out that the ideas and imagination in her work cannot be measured through these number of papers and also the times she is cited. That's the power of her work. Coming to her family, her parents are Ahmed Mirza Khani, who is an electrical engineer, and Zahra Haghegi. While at Princeton, she met her husband, John, who is a Czech national, and he was a postdoctoral fellow at that time. They married in 2005, and they have a daughter, Anna, who was born in 2011. And Professor John is in the Department of Mathematics at Stanford University. So this was about Mariam Mirza Khani's childhood, her education, career, and family. Now I will move on to her work and legacy that she has left with us. She works in an area which is basically at the interface of algebraic topology, geometry, and ergodic theory. I will, so her main theme of work is understanding the geometry and dynamics on hyperbolic surfaces. And she has proved several path-breaking research in her PhD thesis and also later. And they were published in top journals of mathematics, which are listed below, such as Journal of American Math Society, Invention is Mathematics, and Annals of Mathematics. I will take your attention to the two pictures that are there on the top of this slide. Again, this talk is not going to do complete justice to her work, but I will try to point out and discuss three results of hers and in quite a detail so that everyone gets something out of it. So if you look at the left picture where you see three surfaces, spherical on the back, flat, which is slender on the middle, and hyperbolic surface on the front. So you see plus 0 and negative in the bracket, that just tells us whether it's positively curved, flat, which is flat geometry, and hyperbolic negative curved, which you see in the front. So her research area lies in the frontmost surface, which is called hyperbolic surface. And this is just a model of hyperbolic surface. And in dimensions, 2 dimensions of manifolds, meaning that when you locally look at this picture, at any point on the surface, it is 2-dimensional, even though the picture is in 3 dimensions, but it is 2-dimensional. So in 2 dimensions, these are the only 3 geometries that you can see. So her work was in the hyperbolic setup, which I will explain. So if you look at this picture on the right, which is just what you saw in the left picture, it's a hyperboloid, and if you take any 2 blue dots on the surface and you join and you look at the shortest path between any 2 points, on this surface, it's not a straight line as it is on a plane. It's actually a piece of a hyperbola. So if you look at these 3 points together that you see and you draw a triangle joining these 3 points and you look at the interior angles and add them up, the sum is less than 180 degree as opposed to what you see on a triangle on a plane. So this is one of the postulates of Euclidean geometry which fails in setting, which is hyperbolic geometry. Hyperbolic geometry is found in nature and also has inspired artists such as Escher. And below you see pictures of how it appears in nature. And if the pictures are not clear to you, so first is coral reefs. And if you have noticed them, you see negatively and positively curved surfaces everywhere in this coral reefs. Then also in lettuce leaves. Third one is a picture by Escher, and it's called Circle Limit 3. And in this picture, what happens is as you keep on zooming in to the boundary, you see the same thing again and again. So whatever you see in the middle, you're going to see the same picture as you go away towards the boundary. And then last one is in solidite, where you see hyperbolic geometry appear. So let me talk about her first work, which is counting simple closed curves. So let me first talk about some elementary things. So if you look at this picture, it's a hyperbolic surface. It's a genus surface. So you should imagine this picture as joining 2 donuts together. The holes in the middle are the holes in the donut. So it's a picture in 3 dimensions. And it's hollow in the middle. So you can imagine you have 2 donuts which are hollow and you have joined them together. Okay. So there are 2 curves, 2 types of curves on the surface that you can see. There are curves, 3 in number, and there is a red curve, which is a single curve. So if you look at the picture, there is a solid line which represents the front of the surface, and there's a dotted line which represents the back of the surface, okay, which you don't see, but you see how curves are moving at the back. So if you notice the blue curves, they close up, right? So they are closed. So any closed curve is basically a curve which comes back to the starting point, whatever the starting point that you choose. Similar happens with the red curve. Another property that you see with all 4 curves is that they don't intersect themselves. So for the benefit of the audience, you will see that there are places where the dotted curve intersects with the solid curve. So that is not an intersection because the dotted curve is at the back and the solid curve is at the front. So there's no intersection. So if you look at all these four curves, none of them are intersecting. So that is why the term simple. So simple means curves which don't intersect themselves, and closed means they close up. Okay. So with this terminology, there was a prime number theorem on hyperbolic surface. So why prime number theorem? Because the formula looks like what you see in the prime number theorem. And what was proved by several co-authors was that number of closed curves of length at most L. So now you might wonder, what do we mean by length of a curve? So once you put a geometry on the surface, you don't look at any curve, but you look at the curve of shortest length. Okay. So in the previous picture, I showed you that when you join 2 points on a hyperbolic surface, hyperboloid, it is like a hyperbola. It's a piece of the hyperbola. That is the shortest path. Okay. There could be another, you could join those 2 points in some other way. I'm not interested in those joinings. I'm only interested in shortest path joinings. So when I say length at most L, what I mean is in this geometry, you look at curves, which are curves of shortest length, which are also called geodesics. And you count the number of closed curves, which have length at most L. Now remember, they may also intersect at this stage. And asymptotically, this number looks like e to the L by L. So basically, the growth is exponential growth. As length becomes really large, this is happening. So what Mirzakhani did was, she proved that on a hyperbolic surface X of genus G, so hyperbolic surface X, genus G, by genus I mean holes. So in the top picture, you see that there are 2 holes. So the number of genus is 2. In this setting, she showed that the number of simple closed curves. So now she is not just counting closed curves, also counting curves. She's only counting curves which don't intersect with themselves. So number of simple closed curves of length at most L asymptotes to a constant times L to the power 6g minus g, where the constant c is depending on the surface X is in a nice way. So I'll not go into the details. This is the technical part. As you see, the Cx is a constant. It only depends on what you have on the surface, the details that you have on the surface. So you see that on one hand, the number of closed curves is exponential asymptotically. The number of simple closed curves is only polynomial asymptotically. So this means that on a surface, simple closed curves are rare to see, right? Because mostly the curves are self-intersecting, because you see an exponential number there. So this was one of the path-breaking works that Mariam got interested in, and the next work that I'm going to talk about is another proof of a conjecture of Witten that she gave. There was already a proof, that's why another proof. And this first proof was done by Kontsevich in 1992, for which he was awarded the Fields Medal in 1998. Mariam obtained several asymptotic formulas, one of which was to compute the frequencies of different types of simple closed curves. So I'll just point out to one of the asymptotic results that she got. So on a genus 2 surface, so remember genus 2 surface is what? Genus surface is a hyperbolic surface with 2 holes. You see a picture on the bottom. So before going to the actual result, let us study this picture. In this picture, you see 3 curves, green, blue, and red, right? Again, the green one is not dotted at all. That means this picture is on the front, right? This curve is on the front. And both blue and red curves have both solid and dotted portions. So dotted one is at the back and solid one is at the front. So there is a distinction between these curves. If you look at the green and the blue curve, they are called non-separating. So why are they called non-separating? Because let's say you cut the surface along this blue or the green curve. Then what happens is your surface, of course, divides itself, but doesn't become disconnected, right? Whereas if you cut along the red curve, then you can immediately see that the surface is disconnected into two pieces, right? So the red curve is called a separating curve. A separating curve is what? It's a curve which separates your surface into two parts, disconnected parts, right? Not just two, could be more, but in this picture it's two. So what she proved was on a genus 2 surface, which is shown on the bottom, sufficiently long. So it's again an asymptotic result, meaning sufficiently long, meaning the length of the curve is really large. A sufficiently long, simple, closed geodesic. I have deliberately used the term geodesic here just to emphasize that we are not looking at any curve joining points. We are looking at the shortest path, which is called a geodesic. So a sufficiently long, simple, closed geodesic is 6 times more likely to be non-separating than separating. Okay. So you see non-separating curves 6 times more than separating curves as the length of the curves become larger and larger. So this is another result which, one of the results that came out of this work. I will move on to the final work of Mariam. Of course, these are only 3 of her works. She has made a lot of contributions, but the time doesn't demand that, and it will also become too technical. So I decided to stick to these 3 works. So this is called a magic wand theorem. So as the name suggests, this theorem basically acts as a magic wand, which proves a lot of other theorems. So this article was it's a massive article which was published only last year by Eskin and Mirza Khani. And later with Mohammadi, they proved famously known magic wand theorem. It led to resolution of various unsolved mathematical problems. And I will only talk about one of the applications of this theorem, which is called illumination problem. And it was posed in 1950s by Strauss. So let me naively pose this problem. So the problem goes as follows. Imagine a room which has mirrored walls all over. As the light ray hits the wall, it reflects back into the room at the same angle as the angle of incidence. Okay. So you imagine that in the room you have a candle placed somewhere and the light is illuminating. So light goes, hits the wall, comes back to the room with the understanding that angle of incidence is same as the angle of reflection. The question is, if the candle is placed in the room, will it illuminate every other point in the room? Okay. So when I say illuminate every other point in the room, of course, it's the light ray is going back and forth, right, in the room as it hits the wall. So I'm looking at it eventually whether the candle is going to illuminate every point in the room. So if you look at picture on the bottom, there are 2 examples of polygonal rooms by Tokarsky, which was in 1995, and Castro in 1997. So the right picture is a 24-sided polygonal room by Castro. It's an improvement of the first example. So what happens in these two, what they proved was, you see two dots in each picture, right? So let us focus on the left picture. So in the left picture, if you place a candle on one of the dots, then every other point in the room is illuminated except for the other dot in the room. And same happens vice versa. So you can choose any of the 2 points. They didn't say anything about putting a candle somewhere else. They just talked about placing candle at either of these points and seeing how illumination works. So this was a partial answer to the originally posed illumination problem, where the question that whether the candle is going to illuminate every other point in the room, answer is no. It depends on the geometry of the room, as you can see. So by the way, I have not included it here, but before this, Penrose in 1950s, he designed a curved room where he used properties of ellipses to show certain, to get an answer for illumination problem. And there, he was not getting this precise thing that only finitely many points are not illuminated. What he got was, there was a position, in fact, several positions in the room, such that if you place a candle there, there is a large chunk of the room which is not illuminated by that candle. So again, that was not a polygonal room, it was a curved room. And he used properties of surface of ellipses there. It was a join of ellipses, that room. So this magic wand theorem takes us to one of the works by mathematicians Lever, Montel, and Weiss, and they focused on what is called a translation surface. So you see two pictures on the left. So let us focus on the first picture, which is torus genus 1 square. So imagine a donut, which you see on the left, right? So imagine a donut which has one hole, so it's genus 1. You see two curves, A and B. B is solid, so it's sitting on the top. A is both solid and dotted, so it's on the front and the back. And now imagine that you are cutting the surface along the curve A, right? And then you deform it. So you expand, you open it up. So when you open it up, what happens is it becomes a cylinder where ends are the curves A and A, right? And the curve B becomes a vertical, right, on the cylinder. Now what happens is, now let's cut along B. So if you cut along B and open the sheet, open the cylinder, what you get is a sheet, right? Where the horizontal edges are B and the circles which were there in the cylinder, which were A's, become straight lines, which are the two edges, right? So now if we backtrack and we look at the square, we join the opposite sides labeled as B together, we get a cylinder. And then we join A together, we get the torus back, which is of genus 1, right? So what you can do is, you can do this for any hyperbolic surface. Okay. So if you look at double torus, which is genus 2, octagon, which is picture on the bottom, I'll not go into great detail. But on the right, you see an octagon which is color coded. The sides are color coded. So I'm going to join these sides according to the color. And what you get is the picture on the left, which is a double torus that you have seen several times in this talk. and these edges become these curves on the left. So for now you can ignore this, but so what I'm trying to drive at is that a hyperbolic surface, you could visualize it as a polygon or a union of polygons with sides identified, and that's precisely what is a translation surface. So a finite union of polygons, if you look at the matter on the right, a finite union of polygons with choice of pairing of parallel sides of equal length, as we did on the picture on the left. Using her work, using Mariam's and Eskin's work on the magic wand theorem, what was proved was, for any translation surface, there are only finitely many points on the surface which are not illuminated by a given point in M. Okay. So what does this mean? This means that if you take, let's say, this octagon on the bottom and you place a candle somewhere, right? And you imagine the light is traveling, and with the identification on this room that side A is same as side the two red sides, the two green sides, purple and blue sides are identified. Then there will be only a finite number of points in M which will not be illuminated. Okay. So if you go back to the illumination problem that I described in the previous slide, what it a corollary to this result on translation surfaces is the following, and that is the take-home message, that if you take a polygon room, which is rational, meaning that each angle of the polygon is a rational multiple of pi, then no matter where the candle is placed in the room, only at most finitely many locations in the room will not be illuminated. So what we saw in the examples by Tokarsky and Castro, the same thing happens in any polygon if the angles, the interior angles, are rational multiples of pi. So basically, now we have a general result about illumination problem. So with this, I finish talking about her work. So let me come now to the last leg of her life, which was when she was battling with cancer. And she was battling with cancer even prior to the Fields Medal Award, and lost the long battle against cancer on 14th July 2017, just at the age of 40. Mirzakhani has left researchers with plenty of ideas and thoughts to build upon. Her novel contributions, directly and indirectly, to several areas of mathematics and physics are still unfolding. I will speak out as an excerpt of Zahra Gua, who is a member at large of the Executive Committee of the International Commission on Mathematical Instruction. And this is what she said. Kasra Rafi, we spoke about him in the beginning. Kasra Rafi wrote that in 2016, he and Mariam walked from her house at Palo Alto to Stanford Mathematics Department to attend a lecture delivered by Gromo. In a time that Mariam's cancer had spread to her bones and liver, and she was in harsh pain. Knowing that the time of her flight to eternity is very near, it was amazing that even in that situation, she restlessly walked to listen to the talk. Kasra said they had to stop every few minutes along the walk so that she could lie down on a bench to rest. So that's how passionate she was. And on the right, you see a picture. So Mariam is also considered as a doodler because she used to keep on drawing. Her area was on curved surfaces. So she was actually also termed as a master artist on curved surfaces, and you see her sitting on the floor and drawing these pictures. So with this, I will also point out that she was and is remembered, of course, in Iran, which is her home country, but also around the globe. So on the left, you see a sculpture of hers at the National Library and Archive of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Tehran. And on the rightmost, you see a tweet by Iranian's president in 2017 and in 2014, where he is congratulating Maryam for becoming the first ever woman to win Fields Medal and making us Iranians very proud. There are several named awards and fellowships now under her name. I will just point out two. So there is a Maryam Mirzakhani Prize in Mathematics, which was actually formally named the National Academy of Sciences Award. And it was renamed in 2018 under his name. And it's given for exceptional contributions to the mathematical sciences by a mid-career mathematician. Another award is the Maryam Mirzakhani Award by the Australian Maths Society. It's to support international female students for pursuing a postgraduate degree in mathematics in Australia. I think if you browse through the web, you will see lots and lots of awards which are now are named after Maryam Mirzakhani. So with this, I'll come to the end of my talk. A disclaimer that I have taken lots of images from various sources on the internet. There is an article which myself, Professor Riddhi Shah at JNU and Professor Geeta Venkatraman at the Ambedkar University, Delhi, first wrote an article for the Resonance Journal of Science Education. It's available freely online, so you can go and read this article if you want to know more about Mirzakhani. Another one is in the notices of American Math Society, AMS, and in Bhavana, which is a mathematics magazine, Bhavana, the mathematics magazine, there was an article by Jayadev Atreya in 2018, and this is also something that you can look at. Towards the end of my talk, I will take you to this last box, wherein there's a movie by Zala Films, which is called Secrets of the Surface, the Mathematical Vision of Maryam Mirzakhani. You can register at the given link on this page. You will receive a link by email for a free screening at the date you choose till May 15. So the reason for having this as part of May 12 initiative was that we are going through uncertain times, and it was difficult all over the world to organize events which are in person, bringing in together lots of people. So this was an initiative by the coordination group of May 12 initiative, so that we will still in some way are able to celebrate May 12, which is the birthday of Maryam Mirzakhani, also International Mathematics Day Women. And also, again, I will thank Dr. Aparna to organize such an event. This event is, of course, listed on the May 12 website that I've shared in the beginning. So do register and enjoy this beautiful movie about life and work of Mirzakhani. Thank you.
This is Riddhi Shah from New Delhi, JNU. Thank you, Nikita. It was a very beautiful talk. I really enjoyed it, and as I see messages from lots of participants, they are very happy. They say it's very informative, and I'm really glad you put it very well. All those very technical work you explained in simple terms. I just would like to mention one thing. I happened to be in an international conference in Mathematical Science Research Institute at MSRI at Berkeley in 2015, where Mariam was present, and so were other two Fields medalists, Margulis and Lyndon Strauss. And Mariam, because of her health, could not sit for long. So she would stand in balcony of the lecture hall and would stand whole day and would keep asking questions from there to the speakers. And her enthusiasm at even in 2015, when she was quite frail, was really amazing. And I hope everybody enjoyed the presentation. I don't know where Dr. Aparna is, but this is what I wanted to tell. And my message to all the participants is that be inspired by her, and if you really try, if you really are interested in mathematics and want to do mathematics, then that's the best career option for a woman, because you don't get tied down to lab. All you need is pencil, paper, and everything is available online. Resources are there. So please be inspired by Mariam. Whenever you have problem, think of her life, and continue towards your. Thank you, Nikita, and thank you, Apit.
Hi, Nikita.
Thank you, Riddhi ma'am, for your valuable words. I was out thinking. Yes, Aparna here.
Can I just say one thing? I'm Geeta Venkatraman.
Sure, ma'am. Please carry on.
Yeah, Nikita, thank you very much. That was a wonderful talk. And of course, one expects such wonderful talks from you. I've heard you several times before. I just wanted to add one more thing to what Riddhi had mentioned. Mariam actually was part of, she had come to India in 2010. We had the ICM in India for the first time. And along with it, we had the first ICWM, which was the International Conference of Women in Mathematics. It was held just a couple of days before the 2010 ICM, and it was it brought together women from all over the world. And since then, every ICM has had a meeting of the women in mathematics before ICM. Of course, they've been called different things. And Mariam was one of the invited speakers at that ICWM. And she must have, I think, Riddhi can correct me, but that might have been around the time when she had already discovered that she was not well, possibly. And that, but she gave such a beautiful talk, and already at that time, people, the rumors were that in the next ICM, she would be one of the contenders for the Fields Medal. And I also urge all the participants to see the movie, because it's really, really touching, and it is beautiful, and it will really inspire you. I mean, you just feel so sad that she died so early, and there must have been, you know, so much of maths that could have come out from her, but I'm sure what she's already done will have left its legacy. Thank you very much.
I think her cancer was detected in 2013, if I remember correctly, but not in 2010 when she came to India.
Yes.
But she gave a beautiful talk, and I still remember.
Yeah.
Yes. Then Pahari ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. I'm so happy to be with you all from India, and I'm very happy to see Geeta, Riddhi, and Nikita, who I met them in Kathmandu, Nepal in 2017. Actually, it was very nice talk about the Mary Mirza Hani. And in Nepal, we are promoting this mathematics to the young girls actually from our platform Women of Nepal in Mathematical Sciences. So I'm very much interested to promote this mathematics to the young girls. So I'm very happy to be with you, and no more things to talk about and say about the Mariam Mirzakhani and all you friends. So thank you very much for joining me in this wonderful talk with Nikita, Riddhi, Geetha, and of course you, Aparna. Thank you all friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. It was nice being in Nepal for Women in Maths meeting.
Yeah, Riddhi, I'm so happy I could see you all. Hi. Okay, thank you. Thank you. See you again.
Thank you for your valuable words, ma'am.
Okay, thank
I
you.
apologize for I lost connectivity for last 5 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, anyone else want to say any feedback or comments?
This is Ambat Vijay Kumar from Cochin. Let me congratulate Nikita for her excellent presentation on Mariam Mirzakhani and her works, and also the organizers for arranging this program. We will continue to do such programs in Kerala during the lockdown period. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback, sir. Anyone else want to ask something or any feedback?
Hello, I'm Meenu. I'm joining from New Zealand at the moment. I'm very thankful to the organizers. Dr. Aparna, thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Dr. Nikita, for the presentation. I feel more closer to home. I feel like I'm part of the loop, so thank you so much for that. And yes, I was very inspired to see that a teacher had changed Mariam Mirzakhani's life so much. So it's a good reminder for all the teachers out there, lecturers and teachers alike, that we do change people's lives, and it could be one small sentence or it could be a long meeting. And I thank Dr. Vijay Kumar. He's done that for me in the past. I'm sure many of you here will also have had that experience with him. So thank you so much, and I hope to continue to be a part of these ongoing seminars.
Thank you, Meenu, for your valuable words. Anyone else?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ma'am, I am from.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Ma'am,
Yes, you are audible.
Myself,
Yes.
myself, P. Mishra, Bharuch, Gujarat. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Please proceed. Yes, please
Myself,
proceed, sir.
I'm Pramod and Mishra from Bharuch, Gujarat.
Please
And
continue,
I want to know from Madam Agrawal that when Mirzakhani's work is so original and natural, why this work is not taught in our junior classes of our mathematics student?
So, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
So, actually, I don't think it's true that it's not taught. Of course, her work is so deep that you need a lot of background to be able to actually do, things that she has done. So, if you look at courses like analysis, like algebra, geometry, basic courses. I'm just talking about very first courses. Topology, matrix spaces, everything goes in her work. Okay.
Even okay, one more thing, ma'am.
Yeah.
I have been in Institute of Advanced Studies Center, Meerut, around 87, 88 when Dr. Singhal, Professor Singhal, Asar and Singhal and Sundarlal were there. So I have studied topology and bitopology in very detail. So, but I don't remember that at anywhere or at any stage this name I have encountered in topology.
Which name? You mean hyperbolic?
No, in topology. You are talking about topology.
So see, I have only talked about the big picture. I have not gone into the details. So
Okay.
the message I want to give is that if you look at her work, it's at the interface of almost every area of research that you see. Whether
Okay.
it's geometry, topology, algebra, analysis, any kind of work. So she has used tools and techniques from all these works. So maybe you have not seen it at the level of bachelor's, but a few of the courses like ergodic theory are actually taught at some places in at the master's level. Uh, but never mind. If one wants to work in these areas, one has to go through the formal training, which every student goes through in bachelor's and master's.
Okay.
So I've only given a broad picture.
Okay. Okay.
It's not that her work was. It's difficult to basically explain this work at bachelor's level or master's level. This was a general talk, so I had to.
Okay.
I had
Thank you.
to.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I think, Nikita, you have to be pleased that your talk was so good that people feel that Mariam could be understood at the undergraduate level.
Thank you, Pramod sir, for the question, and thank you, Nikita and Ritisha ma'am, for your responses. Anyone else want to ask something? Okay, I think there is no further questions. If you have anything more to add, you can contact the speaker directly. Her email address and contact details are available in IISER Bhopal website. If there is no further comments, let me move on to thanking each one of you. First of all, a big thanks to Dr. Nikita Agarwal. We were behind this from say 2-3 days. We had a trial run to make sure that everything works properly for all the participants. To make sure that her slides are visible and all. I believe that all of you were able to view her slides and hear her talk. So when I decided to host this webinar, I was in search of an apt person to deliver the lecture. So I seek for advices from senior persons, and I'm so happy to let you know that your name was suggested by at least 8 of them. If I asked 10, 8 of them gave your name. And I was a bit afraid because I don't know you. Will you accept this? Today may be a busy day for you, being Women in Mathematics Day. But I am so thankful to you for accepting my request and being very friendly towards the organizing side also. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting my request and for your wonderful presentation. Now, we have many eminent personalities. To mention a few, Professor Riddhi Shah is here. She's an executive committee member of International Women in Mathematics. And Professor Geeta Venkatarao is here. Professor Vichal Rao is here. If I start naming them, there are more than 250 participants. So if at all I leave some name, please pardon me. It's due to the time constraints. Thank you one and all for joining the session, and a special thanks to Professor Ampad Vijaykumar for introducing the speaker, and to each one of you who had given feedback at the end. So with that, I conclude.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Maybe Nikita can mention Indian Women in Mathematics activities for participants.
So, Riddhi, why don't you speak? You are so Riddhi was also the chairman, former chairman of Indian Women in Mathematics, and who knows better than you?
Well, I just would like to mention to all the participants the activities run by Indian Women in Mathematics. It started before ICM 2010, but in recent times, we have different activities, renewed ones from 2015 onwards. In fact, in 2017, Kerala had in Kusat, there was a regional workshop, and there were 164 participants there, and these are held over weekend. Now it's once a year, and in different regions we hold these, and we have an annual conference once a year, though this year it has been postponed, where participants from all over India are invited. They can register and they can take part, and not just women, it's open to men and women, but speakers are all mostly women. And there is also a visitors program where we invite distinguished women mathematicians from India and abroad to go to remote places and give talks to encourage women in mathematics. Maybe Aparna can share later link to IWM website, which I'll send her, and you can all have a look and then follow the programs, and I encourage you all to take part in it. There are also paper presentations and poster presentation sessions. The activities are funded by National Board of Higher Mathematics and a Committee for Women in Mathematics, International Mathematical Union. So, and we have executive committee where Geeta and Nikita are also executive committee members. Currently, Dr. Neela Natraj from IIT Bombay is the chairperson of this IWM initiative, executive committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable words. Surely, I will send the link to all the registered participants. So, with that, we conclude. Please check your email for the recording and for the feedback form and instructions for e-certificate. Yes, sir.
Can Ritesh give us a brief information about the activities of Indian women in mathematics? I think Aparna will be able to send to all the registered participants.
Okay.
A brief write-up of the activities.
Yeah, we can do that, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining. Please do check your mail for further instructions. So thank you so much. I'm stopping the recording.
Thank you, Aparna.